name's Alex Rodriguez, reminding you, you don't need a contractor, you need a team of pros.
Hey, what's up guys? Alex with Bay Cities Construction. Today we've got a really cool show. I've been meaning to do this for a while. We're going to be talking about retrofitting house bolt down, but here in the South Bay. For those of you that know me, I'm here in Torrance, California, and we are part of the beach cities. So there's a ton of tall and skinnies here in the South Bay, and we're going to talk about how to bolt those down and why it's important to do a retrofit on a tall and skinny. So if you've got a tall and skinny, or you know somebody that's got a tall and skinny, share this video with them. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We got some giveaways this week. We got the brand new hats for this year are in. This is the spring collection. So hey man, just because we're a contractor doesn't mean we gotta have a little style, a little swag. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Hey, what's up guys? Alex with Bay Cities Construction. Thanks for joining the show. For those of you that are just joining us for the first time, please don't forget to subscribe or like us on Facebook. We have a show every week. It's about a construction related topic. We're here to educate you and get you skilled up so that you know what you're buying, you know how to avoid the pitfalls. Today we're talking about house bolt downs. For those of you that have been following the channel, we've done a lot of large soft story retrofits, and most people don't realize that a tall and skinny is a soft story building. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail today and educate you on how to retrofit a soft story tall and skinny. So before we get into that, just want to remind you, last week's episode we did it on kitchen remodeling, and we talked about storage solutions. We did a thing on Rev-A-Shelf. So if you haven't checked that out, please go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Bay City Builds, and check out episode 39. You can catch the replay. You can also search for the replay on Facebook. We have it on here too. So that was last week's episode. Today we're talking about the tall and skinnies. So I'm going to teach you how to protect them, how to make sure you can strengthen a tall and skinny, and why it's important. I'm also going to show you an earthquake map so you can see that we're surrounded by earthquake faults, and we're surrounded by earthquakes happening all the time. They're just so small you don't know them yet. You don't know that it even happened. So let's get into it. What is a tall and skinny? If you're in the South Bay, you've seen these all over Redondo, all over Hermosa Beach, South Torrance, and Manhattan Beach. So it's literally a tall and skinny house. It's really top heavy, and the big reason that these houses need retrofitting is, look at this garage, look at this little wall right here. If you notice, none of the new construction buildings, even the tall and skinnies, they have a much bigger wall than this, right? Anytime a house has less than 2 feet from the corners, it's considered soft. So I'm going to talk to you about how to retrofit these, okay? So typically in these houses, you got the garage down here, and you've got the living room and the kitchen up on the second floor. There's about 2 or 3 different floor plans, but they're very close. The big issue is that the house is top heavy, and during an earthquake, it'll break here and fall over. Oh, and we actually have a really cool video from the Japanese testing, and it's got a tall and skinny construction, so you can actually see how the house behaves during an earthquake. So, all right, so let's talk a little bit about the geology, right, of the South Bay. So this map covers Hermosa Beach, and most people don't know this, but Hermosa Beach has got expansive soil, liquefaction soil. So it's literally been infilled. This area has been infilled. And what that means for earthquakes, it's really the worst ground to build a house. Liquefaction soil is a really bad deal. And there's quite a bit of it. There's along the edge here in Hermosa. There's a lot of it in Torrance, in North Torrance. And it's just something you got to be aware of, especially if you're doing a new construction. By the way, you should have your soils engineer assess it so that the structural engineers can design for the soil. All right, so basically, you got a front entry deal. These lots are typically between 25 feet wide, could be about 30, 40 feet wide by 200 feet long, right? So it's a big rectangle. In some neighborhoods, they'll have them offset like this, depending on how the grading is. You have, the neighboring houses a little bit higher than the other one. This is on Steinhardt. That's in Redondo. Actually, it's Steinhardt and Carnegie. So I've done some houses by there. All right. So how to protect them? What do you need to do? Before we do that, we're gonna take a little quick break. And by the way, if you've got any questions, type them in, and Brian will read them off, and we'll answer them on the air. Okay, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about how to protect your tall and skinny.
I love Los Angeles. Movie stars, surfing, one of the most diverse cities in America. Some days, it feels like paradise. But any second now, that could all change. Because the big one is coming.
We're better prepared for the big one than any big city in America, which is to say, we're woefully unprepared.
An earthquake so large that the Los Angeles you know will be gone.
It's going to be chaos.
Thousands of fires will break out all over the city. The power will go out. Clean water will be scarce.
They don't understand that it's not going to be just one big shake, but it's going to be thousands of shakes for months or years.
There's nothing we can do to stop it, but we can get ready.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. By the way, we have we're going to put a link on here to, if you want to learn more about earthquakes and really kind of earthquake related topics, we're going to put a link onto this really cool podcast that you may have watched the commercial for. We're just promoting them because it's good. It's a good learning opportunity for you. All right, let's get into it. So this is what happens. I mean, ultimately, when the front of the building doesn't have enough lateral reinforcement during the earthquake, it just collapses. And in this case, it looks like it probably, when it collapsed, it moved maybe about 18 inches to the left. And it's vulnerable. See, in this particular house, it had obviously the opening for the garage, and then it had another opening here for a one-car garage, and then it had the opening for the front door. So that entire first floor was soft, right? It was soft. And it's vulnerable to damage for sure. So in some of the buildings, this is a property being retrofitted in San Francisco. In some buildings, it's very common to see a moment frame. This is a moment frame made by Hardy. And it's basically a two steel columns and a beam, and it gets attached to the wood framing, and it gives you lateral strength. Lateral strength is left and right, if you're looking at the building. So that's the one of the methodologies for retrofitting a soft story building, soft story house. This is a deal that we worked on. We used Hardy panels, and these are basically strong steel panels that go into a grade beam that has very specific steel cage, steel reinforcement in there, and it's attached on the top to whatever the wood member is. So the idea is that this gives the beam rigidity, right? Lateral force resistance. That's one of the other methodologies. And then the third and the most, I think, exciting for tall and skinnies is this. It's the skinny brace made by Quake Bracing in Berkeley. Thor is the designer. He's an engineer, really smart guy. I've met him and spoken with him several times regarding this invention. And he made this skinny brace for areas that, well, for two reasons. This solves a couple problems. Not only does it solve the strengthening problem, but it also solves the size problem. You need, in some areas, you can't stick a moment frame in it. There's no space. So this technology, basically this is acts like a spring, and it gives, this will slide back and forth during the earthquake, but it gives it tremendous amount of rigidity in here. And hypothetically, even if you had a house, the top level of the house displaced, hypothetically, you could slide it back over itself and straighten it out. And it'll definitely prevent the collapse. There's no question about it. But there's different sizes depending on how much lateral force is required. And it's basically attached, this system is attached to an I-beam, and that I-beam is buried into the ground. So actually, let me show you a quick little video about how this gets installed. Yeah. So this is considered a soft story building, right? In this case, you're basically jacking it up from because it's heavy. That beam probably weighs about 800 pounds. But you see how thin the I-beam is? Should we lower the music? So you see how this beam is really thin, right? And in here you're seeing, actually that's actually Thor dropping that in. And that's the steel cage. You fill up the cage, and then ultimately fill in the concrete, and you're good to go. This is a representative, is testing. They're basically testing the movement of the frame. You can see the paint as this area deflects. You can see the paint kind of crimping off the steel. It really is a really cool invention, and relatively affordable to install. It's cheaper than a moment frame, and like I said, in some cases you can't even use a moment frame. So this is I'm all about using the right methodology for the job. So if you want to check that out, you can just click on the URL there and go to his site, and he's got a couple other really cool videos there. But so I wanted just to show you the skinny brace frame system. Now he doesn't do the engineering for it. You got to get an engineer. If you were to hire us to do it, we do the engineering for you. And if your property, this is the best solution for it, we would spec this out as the engineering solution, and that's what we would install. Okay, so let's keep going here. So most of us don't realize how many, I think, look, I've lived here in California my adult life, right? And a big portion of my childhood. I was here during the Northridge earthquake. And honestly, the technology now is so cool with the monitoring, but I think many of us are oblivious to how many earthquakes there are in a given year and how many faults are all around us. So this picture was taken off I think it was the USGS, right? I think it was USGS website. And so this was actually for within the last 30 days. So if you're watching this podcast, today's April 10th. So this has been through probably the beginning of March. So check it out. I mean, like, we're here in Redondo, and you can see all the different earthquakes. There's an earthquake fault that actually runs in the bay. It goes all the way from Long Beach to Malibu. And there you go. There's a little earthquake there. You've got a series of them here in the South Bay. There's an earthquake fault that runs along, I think it's PV Boulevard. And then you've got the Long Beach fault. Well, it's not called Long Beach fault, but it starts in Long Beach, and it cuts across the peninsula all the way to Malibu. So, long story short, we've had 420 earthquakes since in the last 30 days, and it's a lot. Now, the average earthquakes per year is 234, so we've had quite a bit of earthquakes, a lot of seismic activity in the beginning of this year. So, I don't know if that means anything other than we live in earthquake country. You should be prepared for an earthquake. You should assume that we are going to have an earthquake. You should assume that we can have the big one at any given time. Not to be paranoid or alarmist, but we live in earthquake country. So I think that the quicker we become accustomed to that and we prepare for it, then so be it. I mean, it's not like we're going to move out of here or anything, right? So check it out. These are some of the earthquake faults. This yellow line, this represents a series of earthquake faults. There's a nice, good-sized one in Compton. Oh, by the way, wait, before I go. So one of the things that I just want to bring your attention to, I think Northridge During the Northridge earthquake, the fault broke at about 15 miles deep. Look how shallow these earthquakes are here. 4 kilometers, 7 kilometers, 1, 2, 13. That's relatively shallow. So what does that mean? That means that the earthquake is the shallower it is, the stronger you'll feel it, and the more destruction you'll have. The earthquakes that were over at Ridgecrest last year, the 4th of July last year, they were pretty close. I think they were within 15 miles of the surface, and that area there was devastated. That military base was devastated over there. So just FYI, we live in earthquake country. This is the red is the liquefaction zone. That's pretty much all of the dirt that's bad to build on, and you can see it's everywhere. This is Hermosa and part of Redondo down here. If we were to zoom in, you would see sections of Torrance also. But this is just kind of a macro view. I just want you to understand what the geology looks like, what the deal is. All right, so let's watch this thing. This is actually a really cool thing. This is the full scale test of a tall and skinny. So let's check it out. What the hell is that? Is that somebody calling me or something? Okay. All right, here we go. All right, so the earthquake's starting. Now, one house is braced and one house isn't. Let's see which one's which. Can you guys tell which one's braced and which one isn't? It's crazy. Boom, and then it rolls over. Yeah, it's kind of a nightmare. It's not good. But bracing it works. And basically what you're doing when you brace the house, you're keeping all of the connection points together, right? Like the connection points here and up here. Those are the weakest parts of the house or the structure. So you're keeping them together. Let's go back real quick. This is a full-size, by the way, this is a full-size earthquake shake test. Look at that. See, in this case, it broke here from the foundation, and it broke here between the first and second floor. And look how much this one's still moving, right? Like, this definitely moved 3-4 inches in each direction. The engineers find acceptable drift, I think, to be 2% of the height. So when you measure from here, look at that, that's crazy. See how the swaying is less violent on the one on the left than the one on the right? And then here it's going to its maximum point, and it falls under its own weight once it reaches. Look at all these guys, guys studying the deal up there. So these guys, when you have a full scale test like this, it's awesome. You learn a lot about how a building will perform. The engineers call the way that the building moves its frequency, how it behaves with the seismic force. It's pretty cool. What do you guys think about that? I'd love to read your comments and stuff below. We could put a link to this too. This is on YouTube. It's a really cool deal. Some of the guys from Simpson were at some of these tests. All right, so let's talk about what it is that we do to keep it together. So, like I showed you, when the house separates from the foundation, it's because its connections are weak. So what we do is we add these plates. These plates get bolted into the concrete. They get bolted into the mud sill, and then we tie. In this case, we put blocking on between the floor framing, and then we tie it to the mud sill. So the idea is that the floor framing is blocked, and the blocking is tied to the mud sill, and the mud sill is tied by this plate to the stem wall. And together, it acts as a system when you do this all the way around all 4 walls, and it keeps the house on the foundation. So here's another diagram. This is courtesy of Simpson. Here, this represents the concrete. There's the plate that I just showed you, and then there's the mud sill. And then in some houses, if you got a little bit of If you're in a floodplain, you'll have this cripple wall. This is called a cripple wall. Or if you're on a hillside, you'll have this kind of framing. And this is really very dangerous. So what we do to retrofit this is we put in plywood and infill it with plywood and put more of these little brackets all over the place. So this is kind of a cross section. It shows you like the whole thing. This is your stem wall, your mud sill, and then this is your cripple wall, and then you got your little plywood there, and it's nice and sheared. When you put plywood on it, you shear it. You help the lateral force, help resist the lateral force this way and this way. You would put the plywood all the way around the entire house. Now, this is actually a very interesting project that we did a few months ago. This guy didn't have floor joists like normal. The subfloor was T&G and it sat directly on the mud sill. The only problem was that the mud sill was recessed in, so it was very hard to tie all of these together. So what we did is we did a strap to keep all of the T&G together. Then we put in these ledger boards, and we put in a series of 835s, and the ledger boards went straight into the stem wall. And then we kept the mud sill tied down by using these URFPs, and together that tied everything back, it dragged everything back onto the foundation. This is another different shot. So you can see we put these things very close by. There's one here, there's one there in between each other, and then we tied this way. So, and then these coils went the entire length of the building. So it was pretty cool. These little piers, we did this just kind of as a redundancy, but they really don't do anything. They don't do very much. Most of the work is being done by the exterior walls. So the exterior walls have to break first before the piers really see any significant force, but we did them. Makes people feel good to see some steel. This is kind of a close-up shot of the URFP and then the blocking above it. Then there'll be more hardware here as the blocking continues. All right, hey, listen, if you want to learn more about earthquakes and buildings and construction and earthquakes and all that stuff, these guys are really good. The Big One podcast is a cool little resource, and it's fun, it's informative. You should check it out if you have a chance. All right, so aside from the house bolting, what else is important? So check it out. The water heater can cause a lot of havoc. If you have a tall and skinny and you have your water heater in the garage, you should probably get a tankless unit. And I'll tell you why. The tankless unit is smaller. It is more energy efficient, and in the event of an earthquake, it's not gonna suffer any damage. It's bolted onto the wall. The gas line hooks up to it, and there's no water really slushing around in there. If you ever have a pipe break or anything like that, here, ideally, I think I'd like to see most water heaters outside, even if it is a tankless. But these full-size tanked water heaters, they really need to be strapped in, and a lot of problems can occur. This gas line can snap, the water line can snap, and all of a sudden you have either a gas leak, which starts a fire, or you have water pouring in your garage, and either one of those cases is not a good deal. So this case here, this is strapped down and all that according to building code, but if you have a water heater inside the house, you should get rid of it. Just change it out with a tankless. Besides, if you have a tankless, you never run out of hot water. The other important thing, probably the most important thing, is getting this little red firefighter deal here. This is an earthquake gas shutoff valve. During an earthquake, it'll trip, and it has a ball bearing inside. It'll cover the line, and it'll prevent gas from flowing into the house. The reason that it's really important is because most of the damage after the earthquake occurs from a fire. When we went to Trona over in Ridgecrest, most of the damage that we saw was from fires. Big damage. Even if your house doesn't get damaged by an earthquake, or your neighbor's house doesn't get damaged by the earthquake, a fire could occur. Okay, so this little thing, we don't even install them. I'm just telling you this for the purpose of your education. It's the unit. I think you can buy them for 150, 120 bucks, 150 bucks on Amazon. And you can get a plumber to install them for about 200 bucks. It's well worth it. Believe me, it's a very, very good thing. We had one installed at my place just recently. Fire extinguishers, super important. Make sure you have some fire extinguishers. I bought a big commercial fire extinguisher. I think I paid $200. About 2 of them. I put them in my house. I put one in the front of the house and one in the back of the house. I didn't lock it up. I don't have any chains on it. I don't have any of that stuff. I want to be able to, if God forbid I have a fire, if my neighbor sees it, or if somebody's walking the dog, there's a fire, you can see the fire extinguisher, grab it, and shut the fire off right then and there. So you want to make it easy for yourself or for others to put out a fire. So those are super important items to have. If you want to learn more about earthquakes and what's happening, you can download the City of Los Angeles Earthquake Shake Alert LA app on your phone, and it's kind of cool. There's some pretty cool features in there. Let's take a look at that. So before we go to some questions, I do want to make just kind of an editorial comment. About 2 months ago, I bolted down my house. And by the time I got to my house, I think last year we did about 4, maybe 5 bolt downs, like in the last half of the year. We did quite a bit of them, like 5, yeah. So I got to my house, and then since we did finished my house, I've probably done another 3 or 4 this year. But what I wanted to tell you is, look, I rent where I live, and I paid for the bolt down out of my pocket. I paid for the materials. I paid the guys to do the labor, and the reason that I did that is because I don't want to move. When we went to Trona and Ridgecrest, there were entire neighborhoods that were red tagged or yellow tagged, which meant that people had to move out. You couldn't live there. In a red tag house, you can't live there. The sheriff will come. The fire department will come, tag it, and then you can't go back in there. You can actually be arrested for living in there. So I don't want to do that. Think about the worst case scenario now with this coronavirus thing that we have to shelter at home is if we have an earthquake and then I can't go back home. So, I made that decision to do this, and I wanted to create this video so that I can bring awareness to the fact that, a lot of people here in the South Bay, you just don't, the city's never sent out a bulletin or anything like that to inform you that if you live on a raised foundation house built before the 70s, you're probably not very seismically strong. And if you live in a tall and skinny, it's even worse. So because it's so top heavy. So I just wanted to create this video. My intention for this video is to inform you about the dangers of these types of construction, and that you can do something that's fairly affordable to prevent a tremendous amount of expensive damage. Most of these house bolt downs, they're about between $7,500 and maybe $9,500. If you got a cripple wall and if you're in a hillside, it could be a little more than that. But the bottom line is, even if you spent $10,000, $12,000 on a bolt down, it's way cheaper than what you would be trying to spend to fix it. And most earthquake insurance is extremely expensive, and there's an $80,000 deductible. So, that's not a good option. I think it's cheap to buy a little bit of insurance and bolt the house down. If you have a tall and skinny, you definitely should do something about it. And I think that if we, God forbid, we were to have a big event here in the South Bay, that most residents would be really pissed at the local building department because they were never notified. Most people are completely oblivious to, the hazards that we live with on a daily basis by living down here so close to the beach. We have tsunami danger. We've got, 2 pretty good sized earthquake faults that are very close by. And, it's something I think that is important to consider, especially if you live down here with your family and stuff. I mean, most of you have paid a lot of money for the houses that you live in, and you're exposed. You know, you could have a $200,000-$300,000 damage if we have a big event and your house isn't bolted down correctly. So anyway, just trying to be positive about this, but it's kind of a serious situation that, you know, you should, once the coronavirus thing, you should consider doing something about it. Don't deviate, because we can have an earthquake. You know, I've lived down here 10 years, and up until the last 4th of July, I had never experienced an earthquake. I mean, the 4th of July earthquake was a strong earthquake. So we've got a few faults here. We should do something about it, guys. All right, so if you have any questions, you want me to evaluate your house, we can definitely talk about that. But now I want to take any questions. Brian, we got any questions from the folks?
Yeah, we want to thank some of the viewers that are joining us. Thanks so much for tuning in. And one of the viewers would like to know, are you guys still open?
We are open. Actually, we're shooting here from the office, so yes, we are definitely open. We didn't close. We won't close. I don't want to do that. So I want to make sure that we have quite a few jobs going on right now that we're wrapping up, and we don't leave people hanging. So we're committed, and we're going to finish these jobs and start whatever jobs are in the pipeline.
Yeah, it's a good time to point out that we're offering virtual consultations.
That's right. So if you want to talk about a job, please take some pictures of it. Send the pictures to Brian at baycitiesconstruction.com. BYRAN at
BRYAN.
Excuse me, BRYAN at baycitiesconstruction.com. Send them some pictures, and then we'll take a look at it. We'll set up a meeting with on Zoom, and we'll go over your stuff, talk about what you want to do, talk about the pricing, talk about the timelines, all that good stuff.
So another viewer has a question. They want to know, their house was built in the 1990s. Are they okay? Do they need a retrofit? Or
most of the houses in the 90s were bolted down. However, I think it's probably a prudent thing to have it checked out. You know, it's free. I'll go down and take a look at your place, and I won't charge you anything for that. Especially if you're down here in the South Bay. It's easy. I mean, I live in Redondo, and our office is in Torrance. So yeah, give us a call. We'll gladly check it out.
Another viewer would like to know, how long does either a bolt down or a retrofit usually take?
Most bolt downs will take about 3 days. If you have like kind of a tight crawl space and stuff, could be 4 days. If you have a cripple wall, that could take longer. That's probably like a 12 to 15 day job. 10 to 12 day job, 2-week job. Yeah, my parents' place, we had to do a lot of work over there. We spent almost about 6 weeks doing it, but we replaced big sections of the foundation.
So, just to follow up on that, how long would it take to retrofit a tall and skinny?
Okay, so tall and skinny, if you put that skinny brace in, probably two weeks, could be 3 weeks, depending on how good the access is, and hopefully there isn't a whole lot of plumbing and stuff in the way, because we do need to put a grade beam in that thing. It's a good sized grade beam, so we could do the engineering for it. The engineering will probably take about 3 or 4 weeks, and then the actual work could be maybe 2.5 weeks, something like that.
Ooh, this one's a really interesting question. One of the viewers says, I'm aware that we live in earthquake country, and earthquakes are a thing to worry about here in California. But he says his house has survived so far.
Yeah, I get that often. People are like, oh, it's been here. This house has been here since the 70s. Well, your house, my house, the house that I live in was built in the 70s too. That house has never had the earthquake that these faults are capable of, right? Like we haven't had an earthquake from the San Andreas fault for 300 years, like a 7.5 or an 8. Okay, so that house has never had that earthquake. Like I showed you on the map, there's hundreds of earthquakes. They're little 2.0s. Yeah, no problem. But that house built in the 70s has not had a 7.5 or an 8 earthquake. That's only 3 kilometers from the surface. Okay, because that earthquake will rock the hell out of these houses. And if they're not bolted down, they will slide and they will get red tagged for sure. The likelihood of that is very high. And you have to understand another thing too. The probability of having an earthquake within the next 20 to 30 years is very high. I'm talking about a big, significant earthquake. So, if you want to have a little peace of mind, it's a good idea to get your thing bolted down. By the way, we got the new gear here. We may have a little contest question to see who will win our new ball cap. So we got Bay Cities construction, and we got the Retrofit Pros caps. A couple of cool giveaways. See any other questions?
Yeah, Mike in Long Beach wants to know, is there such a thing as an earthquake-proof house? And if he retrofits his foundation, will his house be earthquake-proof?
Yeah, there's anybody that tells you that your house is going to be earthquake proof is either lying or doesn't know what they're talking about. When it comes to earthquake retrofitting, we hope we did enough. I mean, most people, they're not going to rebuild their whole foundation, spend $200,000 or do stuff like that. But to spend $7,500, $15,000 if you have to put in a skinny brace or something like that, you're trying to buy yourself some insurance, right? Some low cost insurance. But your house is not going to be earthquake proof. If we have a big earthquake, there are sections of the rupture that experience all sorts of horrific things. Lateral spread, it's just like liquefaction, the house sinks, you get sinkholes, stuff like that. You can't say it's going to be earthquake proof. But if your house is on a peripheral and doesn't get a direct hit, a house bolt down will definitely prevent a tremendous amount of damage. And that's what you're hoping for, right? Is that you can mitigate the risk of damage. That's a good question, though. It's often asked. Hey, every once in a while I hear some kind of knucklehead guy talk about like your house can be earthquake proof. It's not going to be earthquake. What else we got, man?
Yeah, Chad in Redondo Beach wants to know, what's the average price of a house bolt down?
About $7,500. $7,500. Could be 10 grand, depending. Some people choose to add blocking and like a tip top, like a lot of wood. I would say 7,500 is kind of bare bones. And then if you want more wood, more protection, maybe you have a little bit of damage to the existing stem wall, you got to repair it. It could be 12 to 14K, something like that. So I would say between 7,500 and I would say the average job is between 7,500 and 12,000, depending on how much you want to do. That's a good range.
Marissa, who's joining us on Facebook, wants to know, what should she do if her condo is a soft story?
Well, I would say you should probably have the condo retrofitted, but the likelihood of you convincing your neighbors to do it is low, so you should probably sell your condo and move. Look, those units that are 4 units, 6 units, and there's 4 garage doors in line, and the building was built before the 70s. That's a bad building to be in. That's a bad building to be in. You're married to a bunch of people that maybe don't want to do anything about it. You should probably sell and move. That's what I would do. But if you're close with your fellow members, then you should probably get a retrofit. It's probably going to run you about 100, maybe 130 grand to do it. Do it.
Another viewer asks, what other alternatives do they have to protect their house?
So, really, it's you're dealing with fire danger, water danger, and the actual earthquake. Those are the 3 things that you have to try and mitigate. So you tie your water heater down, or get a tankless preferably. You bolt down the house and do a skinny brace or a moment frame, whatever that ends up being. And then you can also get a water shutoff valve it's a sensor that goes on your water lines that could sense when there's a rupture and it shuts off. So those are the 3 things you could do to mitigate your exposure to damage. That's a good question, actually.
Another viewer wants to just give a comment. They say, so happy to see that you guys are still open since you guys are essential, but I hope you guys are taking precautions to stay safe.
Yes, we have all these little signs, and when folks come in here to pick up checks and stuff, they have to keep their distance. We got hand sanitizer everywhere. We got the little mask action. In here, it's just Brian and I, so we're just like washing our hands 18 times a day, and
Social distancing.
yeah, we got social. Brian's all the way on the other side of my office. He's 14 feet away. So anyway, we're doing the best we can. Trying to be safe about it. Trying to get our jobs done, and what else can we do? Just stay open as long as we can until the man shuts us down.
Knock on wood. Another viewer would like to know how do they get started?
So the best way to get started is send Brian or I an email. Go to our website, Softstory Retrofit Pros, softstoryretrofitpros.com or baycitiesconstruction.com. Fill in the stuff, fill in the information. We'll send you an email, take some pictures of your place, send it over to us, and we'll start the conversation. We'll take it from there. So the steps are basically, once you establish you want to work with us, we'll get some plans drawn up for you and submit them to the city. Redondo's open by mail. Torrance is supposed to be opening here pretty soon, the next 5 or 6 days. So we'll get the plans for you, get them approved. You reimburse us for the plan check fees. I'll give you a price on the construction. We agree to that. Put a contract together, and we're good to go. So that's it. Pretty easy. You guys want to learn more? If you have any other questions, otherwise we'll wrap this up. And we have any other questions, Brian?
I think somebody that's joining us on Facebook would like to know if we have a YouTube channel.
We have a YouTube channel. It's YouTube.com/Bay City Builds.
And don't forget to hit that bell icon.
Yeah, hit that little bell to remind you that, or to alert you that we have a new video. We try and post at least 1 or 2 videos every week. We'll be posting some of the videos of the kitchen bathroom jobs that we're wrapping up right now. We've got some really cool jobs that are almost done. So I'm really excited to create some content and share those with you. So anyway, if you want to learn more about what we do and how we do it and why we do it the way we do it, visit us at baycitiesconstruction.com. If you need help with your remodel or seismic retrofit work, there's hundreds of blog articles. Go over to the resources section there, and that's where the blogs are. And then obviously if you want to hit these little icons, it'll take you straight to a landing page that'll give you more information on that. We have hundreds of articles on our blog page, and it's really a resource for you so you can learn more about what you're about to buy. So that's me in front of one of our jobs over in PV. We are open for business. Been around for 16 years now, and we'll help you do the design, the architectural engineering, city representation, and we'll build your job. No problem. By the way, we got our certification from the state. We are legal. We are legally, actually we're formally certified by the California Earthquake Brace and Bolt thing. So just so you should know. So hey, don't miss an episode. Make sure you like us and follow us on the Facebook. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, and that way you'll get a notification when we go live. Here's our contact info. You want to do a little research on us, want to know what other people are saying about us, the good, the bad, the ugly. Go to social media, go to Yelp, go to Houzz, go to Google, and I'm sure you'll find out enough information about us to make a determination if you want to invite us to be part of your project. So thank you very much for joining us today. I'll see you next week with episode 41. This has been episode 40. My name's Alex with Bay Cities Construction, reminding you don't need a contractor. You need a team of pros. Do you know that a big earthquake can produce a wave that's 2 feet tall? Hi folks, I'm Alex Rodriguez, and I want to protect your house for $199 a month. I'm the owner of Bay Cities Construction, and after visiting Ridgecrest, it's clear to me that you can prevent a tremendous amount of expensive damage by having a seismic retrofit done to your raised foundation. Have you ever wondered if your house needs to be bolted down? And have you ever wondered what could happen to your house if it's not braced and bolted down? Let's check this out. Let's get down and dirty. So this is how we do a bolt down. We bolt down the mud sill to the stem, then we connect the floor joist to the mud sill, and then ideally you connect the subfloor to the floor joist. That's the system to keep this connection intact while the floor is violently shaken. Our low-cost financing makes this project affordable. The process is easy. It only takes 1 day. We live in earthquake country. Dr. Lucy Jones reminds us that earthquakes are random. We can't predict earthquakes, but we can prepare. Remember, it only takes $199 a month to protect your most valued investment. Get peace of mind with a Bay Cities Construction SEISMIC Retrofit. Protect your largest investment. Go to baycitiesconstruction.com and sign up today. My question to you is, can you over-engineer a house for an earthquake? Look at that. You tell me. The big question is, did we do enough? I'm Alex Rodriguez reminding you, you don't need a contractor. You need a team of pros. Hey, what's up guys? Like always, I'm always back with a little offer. So check it out. If you book in April for a bolt down, I'm going to take $200 off your plan check or your plan fees. Okay, $200. And I'm going to set, for those of you that share this show and comment below, I'm going to send you, for the person that shares and comments the most, I'm going to send you one of our new caps. And look forward to talking to you. Look forward to answering your questions. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next week.
Kitchen you want today from Bay Cities Construction in the Southern California and Los Angeles area. There is no better company who takes time out of the equation to get you a detailed plan of what your new kitchen will look like. Get your design plans done, your interior design plans done, and entire project scope done right now. Get your finished kitchen in 90 days or less. We are the best in the Los Angeles and Southern California area, and there's no need to shop anywhere else. Just get started with Bay Cities Construction. Go to baycitiesconstruction.com. That's baycitiesconstruction.com.
Over the years, I've built and remodeled lots of homes, so I know the value of working with experts, like the product experts at Ferguson. When you're ready to make your dreams a reality, find inspiration with bath and kitchen pictures you love. Choose the right contractor or designer for your project, and then schedule some time to meet with a Ferguson product expert. They'll help you find the perfect products from top brands. So schedule a consultation and visit a Ferguson near you.
My name's Alex Rodriguez reminding you, you don't need a contractor. You need a team of pros.